Hello. Welcome back to the Wizard Den. Today, I'm going to speak about how you are eternal. This is something that you should spend some time to try to understand. I'm going to break it down as far as I can. Number one, let me start out with this. There was an experiment done. I forget exactly what it's called, but they were monitoring atoms. Something about a slit. They called it the slit experiment. Basically, atoms acted a certain way, and they would separate and go through these two slits. But when monitored, they would act that way. But when they weren't monitored, they would act a completely different way. Okay? This goes to show that each individual tiny atom has a conscious of its own, right? Now, as you know, everything around us is conformed of atoms. The tree is millions and billions of atoms squished together, forming an organism. Okay? Same with the body. The body is a conformity of atoms squished together. Now, I've talked about it before. Everything is alive. But I really meant that. I don't think you really understand. Everything is really alive. Everything has an aura. Even crystals and rocks. The ground we sit on, the earth is alive. Okay? And this is just for the simple fact that atoms are alive. Now, the body is conformed of billions of atoms. Okay? Now, these billions of atoms have a consciousness of their own. This is what we call the ego. Okay? Now, the ego and you are separate entities. You'll notice this if you go into meditation. If you go into a deep meditation, you'll start to notice that the ego creates things on its own, thoughts on its own, and you can just sit back and observe, right? And watch as it creates thoughts, creates patterns, creates problems to fix and interact with. It creates things on its own because the mind is the powerhouse for this body of atoms. You are simply the soul, a spirit that needs this body of atoms in order to manifest in the physical realm. Our home is the astral realm as a spirit. Atoms do not exist, but only in the physical realm. It's a little bit different when you get to the astral realm. It's a little bit different, okay? Now, the astral realm has influence on atoms in the physical realm. They are connected, but they act differently. These atoms have a mind of their own. They are spiritual in essence, but they are separate from you. That being said, understand that you as a spirit are eternal. You are essentially possessing a body as a spirit would. Okay? Now, it is to your benefit if you're an occultist to really, really understand this and believe this to the core and really dive deep into this. Meditate on this. Meditate a lot. Consciously separate yourself from the mind and the body. You will have more influence over the atoms in this way, as King Paimon has showed me. As King Paimon is the demon of influence, he is aware of influence in atoms and how one can influence another, which is a body of atoms. So, keep in mind that understanding these properties will make you more successful in life, whether that's a spiritual or physical manifestation of success that you're looking for. If you're having issues tapping into your psychic abilities, it will help you to understand this philosophy. Philosophy alone can tap you into power. This is why it's important to daydream, get lost in daydreams, use your imagination, tap into different philosophies. States of mind and consciousness come from philosophy and thought patterns. So, anything the soul thinks starts to become into existence because of the influence you have onto other atoms. Your belief in something has a very powerful, profound, and potent influence on everything around you. This is why they have the sugar pill when testing new medications, because people can cure themselves from cancer just from the belief, if the belief is strong enough. If you believe that you're going to cure your anxiety, you are able to. This is the reason why they have a sugar pill, to make sure that the medication they are giving you actually does what it's supposed to do and has an effect. And it's not just the mind and the body, the soul, creating influence on the body and making it heal itself. You got to understand as well that atoms can heal themselves. Atoms can restructure themselves. I mean, atoms can turn into a tree, they can turn into a human, they can turn into the grass. These atoms are no different from one another. It's only different in the fact that they've tried to take on a different form. So, manifestation can be influenced by this simple philosophy. This is just some things that came into my mind after working with King Paimon yesterday, and I felt that it was needed to be shared. I've talked about this briefly before, but not to this extent. Manifestation is very important, and understanding that you are different. You are separate. You are spiritual. You are soul. You are eternal. You have influence on this realm that you don't understand, that you can't even begin to comprehend. Once you astral project, you will start to understand just how much influence you really have and exactly what you are. You have possessed the bodies before. This is probably most likely, now for some people it is their first time, but for most people it is not their first time incarnating, and this is a reincarnation on this physical plane. There are other physical planes of existence. So what you need to understand is you are separate. You are not ego. You need to separate yourself from ego. You can have a spiritual ego, an identity of the spiritual self, which is good. But physical ego is something completely different, and identifying with the physical ego is very self-destructive. It is only going to bring you pain and misery. Identifying with the spiritual self is only going to bring you growth and self-improvement, healing. So, just some things to resonate on. Sit there, think about it, and really get a feel and understanding for these kinds of things. These things are very important to understand. But that's all I'm going to say today. I might make a part 2 where I go even more in depth. But I need to talk with King Paimon and tell him, and see what he wants me to reveal. And if it is the proper time to do that. For now, peace out, guys.